Members of the Duma. Attention.
Wait! I have received information that changes everything.
While we were taking the vote?
Just because politicians are talking does not mean the rest of the world is not working.
Go ahead.
I have received the report from the castle physicians on the death of Queen Bellatrix.
You received the report?
While you may believe we are all brutes, House Pajari has produced more doctors than any other family in Darzia. Proximity to the battlefield does give far more opportunities to practice surgery.
Lady Rosa, what does the report say?
Queen Bellatrix's death was no accident. Even if she hadn't fallen off her horse on the hunt, her blood contained high levels of the poison known as Vedric root.
This is terrible.
The rebels in the south have gone too far. They need to be starved out like the animals they are.
We cannot be sure that the Red Scarves have anything to do with this.
What are you suggesting?
Funny you would ask. Who benefits from this the most?
The rebels, of course. Darzia is in chaos.
No, Darzia is just fine. We have a system of dealing with tragedies like this, and up until this point, it appeared to be working.
If not the rebels, then who?
Vedric root is not simple to grow. It requires patience, fertile soil, just the right temperature, and luck to cultivate a single seed.
We will have the gardeners interrogated at length.
You are missing the point, Reuben. Perhaps willfully. There is a certain person at this table who wouldn't need any of that to grow the poison.
Wait, you mean...
I don't know anything about this.
Descendants of Dimitral have a way with plants, do they not?
Are you accusing me of killing Queen Bellatrix?
You may lack the spine for murder, but you could have provided Reuben with the supplies.
Lady Pajari has a point, Serafina. As has been discussed multiple times, you are the natural successor to Queen Bellatrix. I have no doubt that it is your name printed on the scroll returned by the Grand Duma.
I would never do anything like that. How long have we known each other, Kendall? You know I'm not a killer.
Perhaps not, but there is another who would gain from putting you on the throne.
Oh, you mean me.
Quite astute. I'm glad you are paying attention, Reuben, because I want to tell you a story.
Delightful. I hope it has a happy ending.
A bastard without land or title seduces the heir to the second most powerful house in the land. He uses that connection to usurp control of his father's house, despite having no claim to the name.
I'm bored already.
But that's not enough, because he is a descendant of Malian, Lord of Greed. His very nature demands more.
So I poison the queen? What does that get me?
Your wife on the throne. You're not king, but crown prince certainly sounds better than bastard.
Wait a minute. If we're throwing names around, Reuben and I aren't the only possible suspects.
Oh?
If you want to talk about who stood to gain from Bellatrix's death, just look at who took House Grandel's seat on the Duma.
Oh, please.
That's right. You knew that you had the tax revenues to move on to the Duma. But one of us had to die so you could replace them.
And how would we obtain Vaedric root?
I don't know. But you just testified that your family is full of doctors. Maybe they could procure it. Or maybe you knocked her off her horse, and this story about poison is fabricated entirely by your family.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
And what about you, dear Kendall?
I can't see how I'd be implicated in any of this.
Oh, you talk a big talk about houses and titles, but you seem so ignorant of your own. House Terrace isn't just known for diplomats, is it? It's also known for spies.
Spies is a nasty word, Reuben.
Let's go take a look at the history of your house's great accomplishments. I suspect we don't have to go too far back before we find stories of using poison to silence your enemies.
Oh, I will take your word for it. That is probably true. But it does not change the fact that I had nothing to do with Bellatrix's death.
We've got a problem, Patriarch. No matter which name is printed on that scroll, Serafina, Rosa, Kendall, or Reuben, they are a suspect in the murder of the last queen.
And thus they cannot take the throne.
What? I came back here for nothing?
The rules are quite clear. If the death of a previous sovereign is under suspicious circumstances, her successor cannot be named until the culprit is found, or all the suspects are cleared.
So what does that mean?
It means that there will be no election. Not today, and not until we know who killed Bellatrix Grandil.
But the Duma is leaderless. The rules only provide for a meeting without a sovereign under one circumstance: the election of a new sovereign.
Then we must name a regent, a sovereign who will preside over the investigation into the death of Queen Grandil and rule over Darzia until we solve this murder.
There's only one person at this table who can fill that role.
What do you mean?
I nominate Odell Perin for regent.
What?
That's right. Odell is the only one on the Elite Duma, and perhaps in the Grand Duma, who we know with absolute certainty did not murder Queen Bellatrix.
She wasn't even in the country.
She is the only choice.
And they accused me of having no experience.
Why do you drop tears, Vixen? This sight just makes me melt inside.
There's a man here from my homeland, and he...
Who is this man? Has he done something to harm my Vixen? I'll make sure he receives a proper Viscount welcome. I'll introduce him to my blade.
That's so sweet of you, Lorenzo. But it's not like that. Not exactly. He's just a messenger. Well, he's a nobleman, but he comes with a message. He's here to take me to Darzia.
Darzia? Is that your homeland?
I was born there, and my family remains there, but I don't consider it home. I've spent as much of my life away from that place as possible. Viscount feels more like home to me than that place.
But you've only been here for 3 weeks. If you have managed to avoid Darzia this long, why must you suddenly return now?
Apparently, something drastic happened. The Queen of Darzia died, and her husband only died a few weeks before that, so her throne is empty, and all the Darzian royal families are scrambling about in a frenzy.
I am sorry to hear that your queen is dead. Queen Bellatrix Grandil was a brave and noble warrior. She is greatly admired here in Viscount.
Thanks. But the real tragedy to me is that I must leave you so suddenly.
Sweet Vixen, do you plan to lay a claim on the throne of Darzia?
Gods, no. That's the last thing I'd ever want to do. That would be like shackling myself in a prison for the rest of my life.
If that's how you feel, why dart home at all?
My mother was the leader of House Perin, but after Bellatrix died, she resigned her position. That makes me the house leader of the Perin family. I'm sure you have no interest in hearing about the ridiculous voting system in Darzia. I barely understand it myself. But everything adds up to the fact that I must participate in the next Royal Duma to help select the next monarch. And I must go right away. They won't even let me spend one last sweet evening in the pleasure of your company.